Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Roswell, New Mexico. A great premiere. Let me kind of go ahead and get some stuff like right off the bat. I didn't realize this initially, but it took a while before it kind of jogged in my head that this show is actually a remake of another show. Just because the only reason why that clicked in my head, not because I looked it up, but because I remember coming across the original show called just simply Roswell, because I think it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's up there anymore, but I want to say Katherine Heigl was in it. Like, I could be, like I said, I might be confusing this with a different show, but I think it is the same show because like that one was talking about aliens and stuff like that too. It's kind of like a high school. Well, it seemed like that one was more of a high school drama. This is more so like after high school. This is them as adults. Like, so it's interesting. It looks like they're kind of going at it from a different perspective because I think they were supposed to be like high school students in the original show. But nevertheless, a few other things to kind of note about this, like when it comes to actors and stuff like that. Obviously, the actor who plays Max played Jackson in the original. There's also the actor who plays Kyle who played Tyler in the Vampire Diaries. Obviously, he popped up in the originals once or twice. And there's also the actress who plays Rosa. It's Amber Thunder. I saw her name and I was like, because I don't associate names with faces. Like so I was like, it's either the actress who plays Carrie from Legion or it was Amy, David's sister. I didn't know who was who because I hadn't associated names with faces, and it turns out to be the actress who plays Karen. I was like, dude, that's crazy. That's awesome. But nevertheless, other than that, it's a very interesting, start to the series to kind of jump you into all of this. Kind of like they have. I was interested in seeing what they were going to do with this whole thing. Obviously, Liz is coming back home after a long time. When you look at her respective situation, it's like, yeah, it's kind of understandable why she hasn't come back. Basically, the whole town kind of looks at her family in a negative light because her sister Rosa got high, drove, and not only killed herself, but also innocent people too. And now her family's kind of being plagued by that. Like, in the time that Liz has been there, like, the place got shot up, her dad's place, where he works and everything. But, I mean, who knows what else has happened over the past 10 years because she's been gone all that time. So, and her dad probably most likely never said anything because he didn't want to worry her. But the way he talks about it, it seems like things got really worse because now it's like the 10-year anniversary of that death, and it just kind of spirals and brings up a lot of stuff. Even to the point, like, Liz went to visit her grave later, and it was kind of desecrated. Like, they pulled a cross out, kind of dug it up and stuff like that. The other two girls' graves were fine, but it's just like Rose's. And, like, everyone in town knows exactly who she is and kind of looks at her with disdain, like, oh, isn't she that girl who did this and that? And it's kind of sad that she had such a, like, something her sister did that her and her family kind of have to pay for, no matter what the circumstances are. But I guess it's just kind of like that guilt by association, guilt by blood in this regard. So, but that's a crazy turn of events that kind of put Liz, kind of get her caught up in a situation. It's like, oh yeah, what happens your first day? Not even your first day, your first night back, you get shot. Because I was thinking, like, he just healed the wound. I guess it's a resurrection. Like, because they refer to it as a resurrection. So she potentially died and was brought back to life. And what's interesting, though, is, like, the wound didn't completely go away. There was still kind of, like, residual mark from, like, the gunshot wound. I love that Max did kind of think on the spot. He poured ketchup on her and smashed the bottom. I'm like, no, it's ketchup. It's ketchup. I was like, I don't know if I would have thought about that. I was like, it never crossed my mind, but I mean, I guess you've been covering this up for roughly 20 years, so of course you're knowing to cover all your bases and stuff like that. I'll get into that in a second. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So basically we deal with the three essentially siblings, that being Max, Isabel, and Michael. What we also break down in this episode too is the fact is that they all three have different ability. The healing is specifically Max's. Isabel can mess with people's minds, and Michael's, his seems like it's telekinesis. So it's also interesting to kind of note, it seems like he's the only one with an offensive ability. But to be fair, that's just the beginning. We don't know, like, the applications of what their abilities could really be pushed to do. I mean, we don't know if there's anything else that they're capable of doing in general. That might be just all that they're aware of, at least at this point in time. I mean, they kind of had to be hush-hush about their abilities and stuff like that. But nevertheless, they ended up bringing Liz in on this secret and everything. And it's such a fascinating situation because, like, they have been here technically since the crash in 1947, but they didn't wake up until 50 years later in 97, which, because even that's kind of like, because they woke up alone and everything, but that was also the thing that was kind of running through my mind the moment Max introduced like the other three, those three little pod things, like someone had to bring you there because that's not where the ship crashed. So someone grabbed all three of you and brought you there. I wonder, do they serve any other purposes? Because it's like, yeah, that's potentially why we survived the crash, but it's like, what do they serve other than that? Like, kind of than just being like capsules? Like, will you ever need to go back in there? Because it also seems like an interesting thing. Like, we haven't really seen it yet. Maybe it's just Max's situation, but like when he used his ability, it drained him. He needed to drink something. Like, I guess maybe there's some particular concoction of compounds they have to introduce into their system to kind of be okay. Because we see Michael use his abilities and he doesn't have the same effect. I mean, to be fair, I guess like Max literally bringing someone back from the dead takes a bigger strain, and it obviously has ramification because like all the lights started shifting everywhere and stuff like that. I wonder, was it coincidence, but the moment he got better, the lights around that area got better and got back on. So I wondered, it's like he absorbed like electrodes in the area, electricity. Does he draw it in to heal somebody? I don't know. Because it's interesting because there's the whole Maines situation, and he's bringing Kyle into this because apparently Kyle and the Maines family kind of did this whole alien hunting thing. It basically they've been dealing with for the past 70 years. There was all the others died in the crash, but except for one, but that one's being considered a monster. But that monster had to have brought them, you know, the three siblings to that place. And so it begs the question, whatever happened to that other person then? And the way they kind of talk about it, I would assume that alien died. Like, it's, you know, because, I mean, they're saying that it was a killer, it did this and that. I'm sure everything isn't what they think and claim that it is, but maybe it is. We'll just kind of have to wait and see on that front. But it's just kind of like seeing how they are, like, it does not seem like it describes what Maines is saying is about the previous alien that it crossed paths with. I think it is kind of hinting to the fact is that they do kind of have a bit of a temper, because obviously you had like Michael pushing Max the way he did with his powers, and then Max snapping at Isabel later on about the whole Liz situation. So it does seem like there's something there, some programming in their head, or at the very least maybe it's kind of part of their nature, kind of makes them snap a little bit, kind of like they kind of have a little bit of anger. So maybe that's just their respective situations, or maybe it kind of plays into their biology. It kind of throws off the chemistry in their brain or something. It's really hard to say. Because we end up learning from Michael, the fact is that it seems like Isabel wiped Liz's mind. Now the question is, because it's like, oh, breaking, you know, Max and Liz up. But it's like, what did Liz do? God, Isabel, I'm doing that. I do apologize. What did Isabel get rid of? Did, you know, to kind of make them, did she bury her feelings? Did Isabel bury like Liz's feelings and stuff like that? Because the moment like Max was kind of showing her the memories and stuff, I was wondering like, is he going to pop up something and she'd be like, wait, what was that? He's like, wait, you don't remember that? And then he finds out? Or is it something that Max does know? Is that connected to the whole Rosa thing? Because there's something about Rosa that Max is like, Liz can never know the truth about that. So is that associated with the whole Isabel thing of why her memory was wiped? Extra reason. Because for him, it's like, Max stayed for Isabel and Michael's sake, but beyond that, like, he said he would have, you know, followed Liz anywhere, but is it also this Rosa thing that kind of kept him from leaving? Maybe guilt about whatever it is that maybe they covered up or made her forget? Like, what was it? Maybe Rosa stumbled across them and an accident happened and she ended up getting killed, and as well as the innocent people too, so they staged the situation. Because obviously they've been hiding for the past 20 years because they don't want to be experimented on, stuff like that. So they might have covered it up to make it look like she was at fault, when in all honesty she never did anything, that she was kind of an innocent bystander in this whole thing too. And also like her family is suffering all this, kind of being plagued like this because of something that wasn't even Rosa's fault. Potentially, who knows? Because it's also interesting because Liz throws out the possibility, because she's like, my mom was mentally ill, the same thing for Rosa too. Maybe that's why she got into drugs at such a young age, was because she was trying to quiet the voices. So it turns out, like, is it really that? Or did Rosa stumble across this truth, and that ultimately, you know, was she a part of this inner circle that knew this truth, and it ultimately got her killed, or she got, like, what went down with that? It's too early to really fully say at this point. All you can do is speculate. But whatever it is, it's so bad that Max doesn't want Liz to know, because I guess because it's either something they made her forget, and if she remembers, it's going to devastate her all over again. She might not come back from it, or whatever it is, it might just devastate her in general. Because I feel like it wouldn't be for his own sake, because, you know, for Max, he talks about the fact is that he likes his job because he gets to protect people. Also seems like he never really uses his powers on people, because he used them on Liz, and Liz is like, why did you use your powers on me? Like, obviously it's because he has feelings for her, but part of me is wondering, is it because he wants to make up for the fact is when he had the opportunity to, whatever happened all those years ago, he didn't use them on Rosa and she died. And now he felt responsible, like, I can't let someone else die when I have the opportunity to save them. Like, he's letting it happen time and time again, I'm sure, with his job. And it's like, he let Rosa die before, and he's like, no, I can't do that, especially because it's Liz and it's someone I care about. That's where my mind goes about that, but we'll kind of see. It's also interesting because there's all this talk about Liz and, you know, Max and that whole complicated situation. What about Michael? He's got his own complicated situation with Alex. It's like, he's literally the son of the dude that's basically hunting you. I mean, they might not know that, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of a complicated can of worms. And it seems like something went down between them all that time ago, because obviously, like, Alex seems like was kind of forced to follow in his dad's footsteps. Because the moment Michael made a wisecrack about him being a man's man, made me go, oh yeah, that's his dad not approving of him being gay. Like, that's what I chalked that up to be, because it was kind of like, oh, like, because, like, the whole thought of, like, you know, being gay, you're not manly in some shape or form, that's, like, I figured he was trying to make a, like, reference to that. I'm assuming that's what that was supposed to be, kind of a play on words in that regard, so that's kind of a shame. And it seems like, oh, things are kind of rekindling between them, but it's like, you know, that little, like, will it turn into, like, a little torrid affair, like, they pick up, because he even goes, like, we're not kids anymore, so it must mean, like, whatever happened to them was when they were teenagers, and it's like, that was just kind of like a fling, it was nothing, but obviously it matters. Also, what's interesting, too, is that Michael is keeping all these calculations, and he's got, like, a shard, like, it looks like it might be a piece of the ship, the way it's got that rainbow color. I also forgot to talk about it. I really like the stylized nature of what the title card, like at the beginning and the end, the way it's stylized like that. I thought that was kind of neat, like kind of that rainbowish color, which kind of fits their whole motif of the show and just everything. Because the way Max put it, it's like, no, like, Michael couldn't care less about this planet to even begin helping it, so it seems like he's kind of got a grudge against Earth. I guess the way Earth kind of betrays, like, how they treat aliens and stuff like that, so, like, he sees probably, like, how they treat themselves, like humans, to other humans, so it's like us being outsiders from a different planet and stuff like that. Of course you'd probably hate us too and stuff like that, and you know, so maybe that's why he kind of looks at them as kind of something like beneath them, which I don't feel like that is the case, considering the fact is that he's got the whole complicated Alex situation. That doesn't seem like someone who's like, oh, something or someone is beneath him. So it's like maybe Alex has been the one exception for him to be like, oh, this Earth, it's not great, but it's not all bad, you know. So I don't know. What I'm also curious about, too, because I brought it up earlier, like, they were asleep for 50 years. What made them wake up? Did something specific happen? Like, was that creature killed all those, like, 20 years ago? Was that the one that they were connected to? Did it die, and that's what woke them up? Was it, like, their actual mother or parent? Like, what is their whole deal? Like, what their whole situation is? Is it, like, I mean, because they treat each other like siblings, even though, like, Max and, you know, Isabel were adopted by the same family, which I don't know if they're still alive. They might not, because they never came up this episode, but we'll see. But then Max was adopted by another family, which is kind of sad that they were in the same town and everything, but they're not, like, together, even though they are a family with this big secret. But was it, like I said, a parent or something that died that woke them up? Like, why specifically 50 years later, even though they've been there the entire time? Like, was that enough time for them to be completely, like... Well, because even when they woke up, they had no memories, they kind of had to learn everything, they were mute and stuff like that, so it's kind of like, it's not like whatever happened to them in those little pods or whatever, like, assimilated them to this world. They kind of had to do that on their own, so it's like, what triggered that, them waking up? Also, I like that whole thing. I'm wondering, because it does, once again, like the whole rainbow aesthetic, it does seem like it fits other people. Because like the moment Michael used his power to kind of push Max, you kind of saw like a rainbow effect. And whenever Max touched Liz to heal her, like it left that handprint. I didn't expect that, because like when Kyle and her are hooking up and he's like, no, I don't mind being used and stuff like that, and he saw the marker, I was like, oh, that just sees the bullet wound. Did not expect it to turn into a full-blown colorful handprint like that, which is kind of terrible, because she went to Kyle about all that. Now Kyle's getting mixed up in the military and everything like that, because they're the ones that know all about what's going on. So Liz is trying to keep that secret while also dealing with, now Kyle's kind of on the opposite ends of everything. It seems like currently the only ally she really has in all of this is Max and her friend Maria from high school, because other than that, like the whole town is against her. Even Isabel and Michael are against her. They're just waiting to see if she can really be trusted. Isabel doesn't trust her, and neither does Michael. Because that's another element to this too. Like I was trying to bring up earlier, it was like, because it almost seemed like Michael snapped at Max specifically because it's like, you saved Liz. It's kind of like you could have said, like, so it makes me think back to that whole Rosa situation, and maybe it was someone that they actually cared about back then or something, or maybe it was the two other girls. It's like you could have saved them, but instead you chose to use your powers now to save Liz, because it's all about someone that you cared about. So maybe they all cared about Rosa, or maybe in particular he cared about Rosa. Whatever the case may be, like it seems like that. Because it was that moment when he found out, like, oh, it was Liz he healed, that pissed him off. Like, so, or maybe it's something, terrible things Rosa did back. Because that's why I was like, oh, like the people that died, I thought maybe they had some kind of connection to Michael, the reason why he acted like that. So it's like he blames Rosa, so he was taking it out on Liz. Potentially. I don't know. That's just kind of what my thought process is right now. So, like I said, a lot of setup, obviously. Like, a lot of this is just conjecture. We're only just getting started, but I'm very interested to kind of see how everything kind of progresses, going forward with all of this. I'm very excited to see what the next episode has in store for us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and good